Today we're going to learn about geometric terms. There are 9 different geometric terms we are going to talk about here today. Our first term is point. A point is an exact location in space. Here we name our points with a letter. Let's call this point F. Our next term is a line. A line is a group of points lined up end to end. Lines go on forever and ever in both directions. To name a line, we use 2 different points. So let me add another point here. And we're going to name it with 2 points that fall on the line. Let's call that point G. So here we have line FG. We can use symbols to write our line out a lot easier. So here is line, the symbol for line FG. Our next term is a line segment. A line segment is part of a line. Line segments do not go on forever and ever. They just stop at the points given. Let's use our same 2 points and make this into a line segment. So here you can see this is a line segment FG because it does not go on forever. It stops at point F and at point G. The symbol for a line segment FG would look like that. Right. Next, let's look at a ray. A ray is part of a line as well. It has one endpoint. The other side goes on forever and ever. When making the symbol for a line segment, we draw, or for a ray, we draw a picture of a ray above it, making sure that the side with the endpoint is on the exact same side. If my ray went the other direction and G was my endpoint, and it went on forever and ever through F, I would have to make sure that my symbol was going the other way for my ray FG. Now let's go ahead and look at a plane. A plane is an endless flat surface that goes on forever and ever. So here you can see now I have this green flat surface. It goes all the way from the top to bottom. If I move it over now, it goes all the way from left to right, forever and ever in all directions, top, bottom, left, right, forever. That is kind of how a plane works. You can think of it like the floor of a room. It goes forever in all directions. Now we're going to look at multiple lines together. Let's first look at intersecting lines. Intersecting lines are 2 lines that share a common point. Let's go ahead and use G as our common point here. So intersecting lines are 2 lines that share a common point. Let's go ahead and put another point on the second line I drew here. Let's call that H. So I can name this new line I added on. So I have line GH and I have line FG. These 2 lines are intersecting. I cannot forget about my symbol for line right above it. These are lines because they go on forever and ever. We could use line segments as well. The symbol for intersecting looks like kind of a very wide X. This is my symbol for intersecting. So line FG intersects line GH. They share a common point. Point G is what they share in common. When 2 lines intersect at a common point and they form right angles, which means those are 90-degree angles, they look kind of like a square angle, we call those perpendicular lines. So now FG, line FG, and line GF are perpendicular with each other. My symbol for perpendicular is an upside down T. or it looks like an upside down T. So here we could say that line segment, right, or line FG is perpendicular to line GH. These two are perpendicular. Perpendicular lines do not necessarily have to go all the way through. It could stop right there and be a ray coming out of the line. Right? It could be a line segment off of it. Right? These are still perpendicular because they form a right angle where they meet. Next set of lines we're going to look at are parallel lines. Parallel lines are lines that never meet. They stay the same distance apart the whole time. We talk about lines go on forever and ever. Well, parallel lines go on forever and ever in both directions, and they will never meet. So if you look at my new lines here, I got a line that changed the name of that one now, because now it's IJ or JH is parallel to FG. My symbol for parallel is two lines going straight up and down. Move these over a little bit. So you can see the line JH is parallel to line FG here. They never meet, they'll never touch, no matter how far off to the right you go or how far off to the left you'd go, these two lines would never meet. Our last geometric term we're going to talk about here today is skew lines. Skew lines also never meet, but they never meet because they're on different planes. They're on different levels. It's kind of hard to draw this out, but if you kind of picture it here, the fact that this point, we kind of imagine it being at a higher level, even though these might meet, if they're on the same level, they would meet somewhere, right? If they're at different levels, if this is higher, if JH is at higher level than FG, imagine it maybe like on the ceiling, a line on the ceiling, and a line on the floor, okay? They would never meet. Even if they were going in opposite directions, they're not parallel to each other, they would never meet because they're at different heights. One's on the ceiling, one's on the floor. They are on different planes, therefore they never would meet. That's called skew. We're going to quickly look at some pictures and kind of identify some of these different geometric terms in a picture. Here we have a picture of a road. You can see the road as a line going on forever and ever. It starts down here, keeps going forever that way. Here this road intersects the other road. We often talk about those as intersections of roads, where two roads meet as an intersection. Here's another intersection of roads. This road almost kind of looks like a line segment because it looks like it stops here and looks like it stops here. We can't see it go on forever. So you can almost picture that line, that road as a line segment. Here's another picture. We can look at some line segments clearly here. Here's a line segment. That line segment is parallel to this line segment. They never touch, they go on in the same direction. If I get rid of that one, and take this line, is perpendicular to that line. They cross and form a right angle. So those lines form right angles. Here's another picture of a playground here. This is a good example of skew over here. If you look at the bar over there, compared to this post here, these are skew. Right? They would cross if they're at the same spot, but because this one is on a plane way over here, and this one's going up and down way over here, right, they're skew. They're not parallel, yet they do not cross. This post and this post, though, would be parallel because they are at the same, on the same plane, but they go in the same direction, they're the same distance apart, they are parallel to each other. This rope that crosses them would be perpendicular to both those posts. This post would be intersecting. It intersects it, but does not form a right angle. These holes here would be good examples of points. There's a good example of a point, an exact location in space. You can think of these little holes where these ropes are entering these posts as points. We'll go through this one real quickly here. Here's another example. If you want to think of this, ground is a good example of a flat surface, a plane. It goes on forever, even though we can't see in the picture. We know that it goes on forever in all directions. Here we got some perpendicular lines, right angles. Okay. Here's some more perpendicular lines right there, the cables. Okay. We got parallel lines. Okay. We could have some points here. If you want to look at an individual spot on the plane, we think of it as a point right there. Skew lines would be a line down here compared to a line up here. Even though they cross, or even though they never cross, they're just not on the same plane. Now, what your task is to do is to take the picture here of the Golden Gate Bridge and identify 5 of these vocabulary words from this picture. Either a point, parallel lines, perpendicular lines, intersecting lines, skew lines, plane, or line segment. So take your piece of paper and go ahead and identify 5 of those words from this picture. You may hit pause in the video for more time.